Hello everyone. I hope you all are doing fine. And guess what? Today we are going to discuss steps of research and which is very important in perspective of your exam and also it's important when you're doing research. Right. So we are going to cover everything you need to do from start to finish, but in a way that's easier to understand, right? Think of research like cooking a complex dish. What you need the right ingredients, right information and a good recipe, which is your research plan, and patience to see it through, right? So as you can see over your screen, we have all the important steps to do the research. Right. Now let me tell you the first thing, how you select a topic, right? So just like deciding what to cook, you need to pick a topic that interests you. The first thing you do is select a topic, right? Like picking your dish. Just like deciding what to cook, you need to pick a topic that interests you. It's like choosing between making a pasta or a cake. This is the base of your research to select a topic. And what you do next is identification of research problem, like what's missing in the kitchen if you're a chef, right? Here you're figuring out what's missing in the current understanding of your topic. It's like, realizing you need a special spice to make your dish stand out, right? Then what you do literature review. And for cooking, it's like checking out recipes, right? You wouldn't cook a new dish without checking out some recipes first, right? And this step is about seeing what others have like cooked up before, so you don't repeat the same steps or miss out on some neat tricks, right? When you do research, the fourth step is specifying the objective or the purpose. So it's like in cooking, you make a goal, like what's your cooking goal, and there you define what you hope to achieve with your research. Or are you trying to create the spiciest dish or the most nutritious one, right? Then the next step is identifying variable or conceptual framework or form a hypothesis, right? And it is like picking your ingredients if you are in the kitchen, right? Decide on the key ingredients of your study. What factors are you testing? Is it the amount of sugar or salt that makes a difference? This is where you form your hypothesis, or which is in simple term educated guesses. The next step is you formulate the research design methodology, right? Like if you're a cooking, you need to write your recipe, plan how you'll conduct your research. Will you do a taste test survey or nutritional analysis? So that'll be your what methodology, right? And then again, the very important thing is conduct sampling. Here you're deciding, who's trying your dish first if you are a chef. So there what you do, you decide who you're cooking for. In research terms, this means choosing the group of people or data points that you'll study. And the next step, you can see data collection and verifying. Again, if you're a chef or you're cooking something, then what? Cooking and taste testing. That is your data collection and verifying data. So what you do, you collect your data. It's like following your recipe and making sure it's, tastes good. Got it. The next step after the data collection is data analysis and hypothesis testing. Suppose you are cooking, right? And you want to analyze your data to see if your hypothesis was correct. Did the extra spice make the dish better? Right. And the next step is to generalization and interpretation of data. So again, it's like sharing your recipe. Take what you learned and think about how it applies to the bigger picture. Can your findings help other to make even better dishes? Right. And then there is a reporting and evaluating research. So in kitchen, like you document everything about your research process and result. It's like writing down your recipe for others to follow. And the last one is communicating the research findings and possibly, recommendation. In cooking, it's like letting people know about your new dish. and this final step, you share your findings with the world, maybe presented in a cooking class, or in this case a conference or a journal, right? So remember, just like cooking, research is a part of art and part of science. It takes patience, creativity, and lot of trial and error. So keep at it, you'll do better, and you'll become a master chef of research in no times. So that is the brief of all the research steps here. Now let's go one by one. How you select a topic. So the first step is here, select a topic, right? Suppose you're about to start a research project, right? And it's really awesome. First off, you gotta pick your topic, right? And think of some ideas, something you really care about. Trust me, you'll enjoy the research way more if you are into your topic, if you're interested what you have chosen, right? At first, your thesis or dissertation topic might look super broad, right? So don't worry about it. You just jot down a bunch of ideas, then do a bit of reading, right? We call this an initial literature review. It's like, scouting the field to see what's out there, right? And often your assignment will have some hints about how to pick your topic. So use this as your secret weapon. The trick is to start wide, like everything about the ocean. Then if you zoom it, on something specific like the impact of plastic on coral reefs, right? And think of it using a camera lens to focus on one cool thing in a huge landscape. Now try to turn your topic into a question. This makes it easier to dig in, right? Do more research and sketch out a basic outline. Ask the big questions like who, what, when, where, and why. For example, why did I choose this topic? Or who's giving me the information I need, right? And here are some of the steps that I have mentioned here to, make it even easier. So step one is pick a broad area, and like any topic it can be, as I told you, like it was the sea, right? This is your first step. Then start with a big idea and then find a smaller topic within that, like starting with technology and ending up how to like how smartphones affect sleep pattern. The second step is background check. Look up some basic information on your topic. It'll give you a solid foundation and make you sound smart, right? From the start. And it's very important to follow this. And then there is third thing that you can do, like what's your big question? Define what you really want to find out. Make it clear and focused. And the fourth step is like, make sure your question isn't too big or too small. It should be just right. For example, common research paper topics are things like abortion, social media, AI, or climate change, or even any literature thing or comparison. All these things you can do and start there and find your own unique angle. And remember, research is like a treasure hunt. You start with a map, your broad topic, find the X, your specific question, and then dig up the treasure, which is your awesome research findings, right? So that is how you can select a topic. And the second step is very important, is identification of research problem. And it's very important that you should have a clear goal that what you are trying to do. So what's a research problem and why should you care, right? Think of it as something that's bugging you, or a question that's been nagging at the back of your mind. It's like when you spot something off in your everyday life and think, hey, why does it work like that? Or what if there is a better way to do this? That's your research problem right there. And now how do you spot these these problems? Easy, guys. Dive into what others have been saying and doing. Read up on the latest studies, theory, and debates about the stuff you're interested in. It's like being a detective looking for clues in what everyone else is talking about. You're hunting for something that hasn't been, fully explored, something that makes you go, see, nobody has checked this out yet. I'm gonna be the first one that is going to explore, right? And here's what you should keep your eyes peeled for. Let me tell you, uncharted territory. Look for stuff that hasn't been studied much. It's like exploring a new planet in your favorite sci-fi show, right? Then debate club. Find topics where people have different opinions. It's like being in the middle of a friendly argument where everyone has a point. Then spot situation or relationship that are super confusing and nobody really gets it. And then here comes the big questions, and there is no answer for it. So look for these kind of big questions that make everyone scratch their heads. If nobody's got a solid answer yet, then that's your clue that you're gonna do that, right? Then think of topic that gets you really excited. It should be something that makes you jump out of bed in the morning, and that's when you will know that it's going to be a task that you will really enjoy. Then build your toolbox, like figure out how you're going to dig into this problem. It's like planning your strategy in a video game, right? And then there will be a quiz time. Come up with some smart questions that your research will answer, right? And then there should be reality check also. It's not like that you have chosen some very difficult topic and then you don't have any content for that. So you have to check it. Make sure your project is doable. You don't want a plan that's too big to handle, right? It's like planning a road trip. You gotta know how much you can travel and how much cash you need. Got it. And then data hunt. Think about how you'll gather your information. It's like collecting clues in a mystery game, right? Then if there is new problem, sometime you might stumble upon a problem that no one knows exists yet, and that's kind of gold mine that you can follow up, right? And fill in the blanks. Look for gaps in what people know. It's like finding a missing piece in a puzzle and making a difference. Your research should add something cool or useful to the world, right? And your work should get other people excited to explore also. Then there should be a clear understanding. Make sure your data collection helps you to really get the problem. And then the personal touch. Pick a project that you're really into. It's got to match your skill, time, and resource. Always approach your problem solving ethically. There is no shortcuts, right? And use methods that are tested and trusted. It's like following a recipe that how work. So that's all, guys. That's all in identification of the that research problem. So think of yourself as a research detective. You're on the lookout for something intriguing, a bit mysterious, and definitely something that sparks your interest. Then the next step is that literature review, and it's quite important, and that will let you know where you are standing out, right? So think of it like getting the lay of the land on a topic you're interested in, right? And it's like a deep dive into what's already out there, what experts are saying, and what's still up in the air. First off, a literature review isn't just listing what you find. It's more like having a conversation with what you read. You're not only, soaking up all the information, but also thinking critically about it. You're asking questions like, what's the big deal here? Or why are folks arguing about this particular point? Right. Now, why do we do this? Well, before you jump into your research, it's super helpful to know what's already been said and done. It's like getting the full picture before you're adding, your own piece to the puzzle. Plus, it helps you to spot the gaps, or the less explored areas in the field. That's your golden ticket to contributing something new and really cool. There's not just one way to do it. You have got a different types that you can do your literature review. Evaluative, where you're sizing up the research. Then the next is exploratory, kind of like detective work, where you're figuring out what's out there. Then instrumental, where you use the existing research as a tool for your own study. Then systematic review, which is super organized and well indexed, and like creating a map of all the research on a topic. It's very important that you should do that. In a literature review, you're doing a few things like summarizing what's been said, analyzing and critiquing it, and spotting where the arguments are, and then identifying the missing pieces in the research. And think of it like being a film critic but for academic stuff. You're summarizing the plot, which is your research, and giving you take on it, And also remember Benjamin Bloom's revised cognitive domain taxonomy. That's super handy here. It helps you to understand and categorize the knowledge in your field. Remember, a literature review is not a one and done deal. It's a continuous process that shapes your entire research project. It guides your research question, and it also helps you to pick the right method and sets you study in the context of what's already out there. So guys, there you have it. It was all about literature review, and as you know, it is your secret weapon in research. They help you to see the big picture, find your niche, and set up your research on solid ground. The next step we have is specifying the objective and purpose. Very important step that you should follow when you're doing the research. Suppose when you're diving into a research project, think of your research objective as your game plan. These objectives are what you're aiming to achieve with your research. It's like setting target in a video game. You have got your main quest, like the bigger objective, and side quest, the smaller and specific objective. Then figuring out the main thing. First off, no, decide what's the big idea of your research. What's the main thing you're curious about? This could be something broad like understanding how climate change is affecting polar bear. Right. Then now within this big idea, you'll have like more focused targets. There are like mini missions. Right. For example, you might want to specifically look at how melting ice caps are changing polar bear, migration pattern. These specific objectives help you to stay on a track and not get lost into the vast sea of information. Then be specific. Your objective should be clear and to the point. It's like setting a clear destination on your GPS so you don't end up, driving around in circles, right? Then think about how you'll know you're getting closer to your goal. So this is where metrics comes in. And they're like the points you score in a game that show you're heading into the right direction. So gather your gear before you start. Make sure you have everything you need, like resources, and also the money is also important. It's like making sure you have all your supplies before you're taking a road trip. Then stay relevant. Make sure your objectives tie back to the main goal of your research. It's like making sure all the pieces of the puzzle fit together to create the right picture. Set a final deadline for your project and smaller ones for each objective. It's like having checkpoints in a race to keep you moving forward, right? And here are some examples to make it even clear. You see, let's say you want to figure out what goes through a farmer's mind when they are choosing technology or crops. It's like being a detective trying to understand their thought process. Then second objective example, it can be, you might be planning on like how a company can spend money to reduce pollution. It's like being a financial planner, but for the environment, right? And the objective third is, maybe you want to describe where China's giant panda lives, right? It's like mapping out a real life where this panda, right, are there. And these are very important, that your objectives should be clear, whatever you're trying to do. Like in our next session, we're going to talk about variable, where we'll talk about different types of variable. Then we'll talk about conceptual framework, and in the next video, we'll talk about hypothesis. We'll also talk about different types of hypothesis, or maybe we'll talk about, when we do the test, hypothesis test, there is error, right? And that we'll also talk about. And then after that, there will be another video on, formulate the research design methodology. And in our next separate video, we'll have also discussion on sampling, then sampling error, different type of sampling like probability sampling, non-probability sampling. All these things we'll talk about. We'll also talk about data collection and verifying data, data analysis, and hypothesis. So every steps will have different video from now on. So for now, thank you so much, and I'll see you in our next video. Thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.